There was 150,000 of us, of our people, passed through the doors of that residential school. The teachers were mean and beat you if you didn't follow the rules. Many didn't make it home after residential school. And the ones that survived were changed forever. We were about 5 years old. We were picking up the children to go to residential school, loading them up on a bus, bringing them to school. It will be a long and hard road to regain the trust that was lost. But we're hoping to have that reconciliation to make our community strong. Trust is lost. Even our own people distrust each other. But we've got to build that trust and that relationship, and they got to help us. We're not begging for it, but they should honor it and wrap our people up with strong love and compassion.
It's the courageous who are willing to step forward at a time of great risk and change to say we must do something differently. Because if we want a different future, you can't repeat the past.
Reconciliation is a big, big word, but nobody's doing anything. We haven't changed the dialogue in over 100 years. We're still in the same place, and we're still listening to our elders share their stories of grief and trauma within the residential school, but we're not hearing.
This conversation is still going on in the country. There's a lot of, reconciliation is a very contested idea. And so there are still many who equate reconciliation with, if I could put it this way, peace at all costs, with just sort of Indigenous people should reconcile to, rather than us working to reconcile with.
From the time that the first apology was made in 1986, people have been saying, all right, well, we hear the apology, but in terms of accepting it, we need to see it acted out. And part of apology in the theological tradition is atonement. This is really what we're talking about. It's atoning for the sins of the past.
And I think that the idea of resistance is recognizing that the reconciliation journey is not about finding the new recolonizing ways to we'll have an apology and we'll do this, TRC, and we'll have all these things, and then it'll all be good, and we can feel good about that. It's not, reconciliation to me has never been about that. To me, it is about the idea that it is a decolonizing struggle.
Reconciliation is a hard word to swallow, but it's facing towards it. Saying sorry is not quite enough, but they have to recognize the wrong. To recognize the wrong to make it right. Recognize taking away is to provide elders to come to the schools to help the language, the culture, the song and dance, and provide it for equivalent of the years they take it away from us. And that's the start of reconciliation.
Certainly one of the biggest messages we've been hearing at the caucus group so far is about the importance of Indigenous spirituality and about the church welcoming Indigenous expressions of their relationship with God, the kind of ceremonies that are meaningful to them, use of the language, and trying to bring that together.
The church has a real social responsibility to bring us back to that, to restore that, because it makes us whole. My children can't be strong the way they are if they didn't have Indigenous spirituality, and that was taken from us, and we were lost without it. We were broken people without it. That's what Lodge to me is a good place to go and recenter myself, to reground myself. It's the only place that I know where I can sit inside the womb of Mother Earth and give all of those worldly things to the Lord. I can't be who I am without it. I need it.
The day the government will build us a longhouse, a place where we can reside, bring back the teachings of our ancestors, grandparents, learn how to be parents, learn our culture, learn our song and our dance. And that's one of the steps that they can do to take care of the spirit. Take care of the spirit of the people that are still coming.
I remember Dr. Jessie Soto's vision of seeing stars in the sky and saying, those are the Indigenous students being trained for ministry in our way, to work in our communities. So in a sense, that was the call behind the establishment of Dr. Jessie Soto Resource Center. And then Francis Sandy had the same idea that all of the Indigenous communities of faith should have an Indigenous minister.
Really understanding what it means to live into the calls to the church that are going to be coming from the caretakers of our Indigenous circle. That document and the whole relationship that it envisions and calls us to, practicing that, living into that, being willing to be challenged by it, and having our structures, our ways of doing things changed because we are intentional about living out those calls. That's our next step, because that's sort of a roadmap for us into being the church we want to be. What a gift that is to our church, is that this group of Indigenous leaders and then the whole Indigenous church have worked so hard and so diligently to create a way forward for us where we can be together.
We saw that there's lots of history that was behind it. So the beginning of before the call is made, the history is cited. So remembering the first Indigenous Presbytery, Keewatin, remembering the foundation of All Native Circle Conference, remembering the apology, various things like that. And then the idea of perhaps affirming this special nature of Indigenous ministry training at Dr. Jessie or Francis Sandy. That's the history, the foundation for why we're asking for something. And then the call comes. And it comes again from the UN Declaration.
The Indigenous folks in the United Church, after all our long history, have said we want to be church together, and then have done the hard work of saying, and here's how we can do that. Here's what this can look like, and invited us as a whole church to be on that journey together. I'm so humbled by that, and I'm so grateful.
Kairos moments come, and they come when they come. They're not manufactured, they just arrive. And this is a Kairos moment for Canada.
Last year, when we were in Pinawa, when the caretakers made their report to the National Aboriginal Spiritual Gathering, I was filled with emotion. I was touched by the work they had done and the wisdom they offered, and I was touched by the trust that they expressed. Trust that we are a church that yearns for this kind of transformation.
It's a moment of opportunity that God provides for us to begin to do things in a different way, to begin to build new relationships now, presently, and build a stronger future for everyone in Canada.
This is a Kairos moment. It's a Kairos moment because we have this window that's opened up in our society and in our church and on ourselves. This moment offers us an opportunity to learn, particularly as settler people, how to listen deeply and to, in that listening, to be transformed by what we hear, by what we learn. I keep saying to people when I'm talking these days, because it's this sort of aha moment that I had recently, and it seems so obvious that it's almost embarrassing to say, but I keep being reminded and reminding folks that if we want to be different, we can't be the same.